What's up, everybody, and welcome to Growing Up Gaming, your weekly podcast where we meet a new person of the internet to discuss their childhood with gaming and how it inspired their lives today. My name is Mitch Power. Again, thank you guys so much for returning each and every week. Hopefully you've subscribed to the show on iTunes or Google Play or one of the many services that are out there. Hopefully you've shared it with a friend, maybe given it a review. And again, I thank you guys for returning each and every week. This week we have our guest. His name is Daniaal Chowdhury. I met this man on one of the Facebook groups, whether it's Pockets Full of Soup or Kinda Funny or Comedy Button. He's in pretty much all of them. So he's on the show this week to tell us his stories. If you guys ever want to be on the show, go ahead and send me a tweet at GUG Podcast on Twitter, or go ahead and send me a tweet personally at MitchPower1116. Without further ado, let's get things started with Daniaal Chowdhury. What got you started into gaming? Do you remember like the very first console you had, or do you remember where you first saw it that would actually pique your interest in gaming to begin with?
Yeah, I do actually. This actually came up a little bit in this project I did last semester. My earliest memory was my brother. He's a little under 2 years older than me, and he got an N64 for his 4th birthday. So I was like a little older than 2, and that's pretty much what got me into gaming. So
he just brought it home, or he asked for it for his birthday or Christmas or something.
To be honest, knowing my parents, he didn't ask for it; they just got it for him.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then, like, I just remember that night we just like stayed up playing for a while, and then like for as long as I could remember, we just had the N64.
Do you remember the first game he got with the system? I mean, obviously,
Super Mario 64.
Of course, yeah. I mean, that was pretty much a staple for everybody. I mean,
yeah, I don't think it was a pack-in at the time.
No, it definitely wasn't.
Yeah.
That was just like the one game, because when N64 came out, like especially when it first came out, that was like, there was no pack-in with it, because that was around the generation they like stopped the guaranteed pack-in, was like PlayStation 64 era.
Yeah, I wonder why they stopped it. Then I guess they started bringing it back with the Wii, and then to my understanding, no other console has launched with a game pack-in at initial launch.
Yeah, that's probably accurate. Yeah, because I mean, the Wii came out, Wii Sports, which that was just basically like, in a way, the best tech demo you could provide, just to like show people, like, hey, look at all the stuff the motion controls can do. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Other than that, though, I mean, later on they added in games like, I mean, now the Xbox. Well, at launch though, you're right though. Yeah, like Wii was the first one at launch. Well, then like Wii U did Nintendo Land for a while, but that was like a promotional thing. It wasn't like like every Wii U sold had a game with it. Like that was like the very first X amount of Wii U sold came with Nintendo Land, which I never even played. I didn't even get my Wii U until much later. But
fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, and 64, that's also a really good console, especially when you have siblings and multiple people, just because they focus so much on the multiplayer stuff and everything. But
yeah, they did couch co-op very well.
Yeah, I mean, like Mario 64 was pretty much your staple for. If you had a 64, you had to have that. Like there was no options. Like if you didn't have Mario 64, there was something wrong with you.
Yeah, it's like you probably didn't have much else if you didn't have that alone.
Oh yeah, especially at launch. Like at launch, that system like had not a whole lot. So yeah, I mean, Mario 64 was that game that everyone had.
Yeah, I think my brother, he turned 4 in August of '97, so I can't imagine there was too much else out 2 years after launch. But, I mean, we had a decent amount of games before something tragic happened.
Oh, geez. Okay. Well, I'm sure we'll get to that.
We'll get to it. That's one of my stories.
Yeah. No, but I mean, so that's good. And then, so you basically kind of followed in his footsteps. So, I mean, was he kind of...
For a while.
Yeah, so he basically got... Whatever games he got, you were just kind of along for the ride for then?
Yeah, for when I was younger, yeah, up until I saw just this crazy looking game called Star Wars Shadows of the Empire, and I was like, dude, I want to get it. And eventually it ended up in our household, and that's what actually got me into Star Wars before I'd even seen a single movie.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, because, I mean, it's funny, too, because I was into Star Wars when I was younger as well, but I specifically remember it was my friend's uncle who was, like, way into Star Wars. Like, he was one of those that had the action figures, like the old 77 action figures, like sealed and opened. Like he was one of those types of people. He was in the military, and he didn't have a family. He didn't have kids. He just basically when he was younger, he just had all this money, so he just bought all this Star Wars shit, which eventually he sold later on, and good for that dude, because he made, I'm sure, a chunk of change.
Oh, I'm sure.
But yeah, it was weird because it was just like, I'd go over to my friend's house, and his uncle would just talk about Star Wars, and I'm like, what is Star Wars? And then we watched one movie, and that was pretty much it. And then it was Star Wars from then on. So I'm actually wearing like a Boba Fett shirt right now.
Nice.
That's basically, you know, Star Wars going forward. That's really cool. Like, and I didn't even remember. I'm trying to remember the first Star Wars game I even played. I think I want to say,
was it Super Star Wars?
No, like I had Genesis. Like when I grew up, I had Nintendo, then Genesis, then I went PlayStation route. But I honestly think the first Star Wars game I think I played actually was Pod Racer, which is weird.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because like I was into Star Wars around when they came out with the, you know, Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. They had like a VHS pack like of the originals before they redid them with new CGI and all that stuff. That was around the time I started getting into it. And it was weird because, like I said, there were Star Wars games out. Like there was Super Star Wars, you know, on Super Nintendo, but like I didn't really have a Super Nintendo. I was more of a Genesis kid. And then even on PlayStation, at first there wasn't a whole lot. And then, you know, obviously it came up, but I remember Pod Racer being like, I think I want to say Pod Racer was the first Star Wars game, which it's okay. There's definitely better Star Wars games out there, but yeah, I remember that. And of course, me being a, you know, kid into Star Wars, I was like, this is so cool. But, you know, I just thought episode 1 was good at one point in time. So
for sure.
And then we all learned that sad truth when you watched it when you were older, that episode 1's not really that great.
Oh my gosh.
The Metachlorians, right?
I wish episode 1 was better.
I think we all do. We all wish those first 3 were a little bit better, but it's okay.
To be honest, my personal favorite out of the I guess prequel trilogy is episode 2, which some people think is actually worse than episode 1.
Yeah, I mean, I remember 1 and 2. I was like, these are okay. I actually really like 3. Just
oh yeah, no, 3 was actually a really good ending. Like
shit got real.
Yeah, shit got real. Yeah, for sure.
Shit got real. Anakin walks in with all those young Jedi. I'm like, oh shit, they just went there. Like, wow, this is crazy. By the way, absolutely. I don't think I have to say spoiler alerts, but if you seriously haven't seen Star Wars Episode 3 by now, you're not going to. It's okay. We could ruin it. It's fine.
Yeah. It's insane.
But so then you kind of went 64 route. Did you ever get like into PlayStation at all, or was it kind of 64 going forward? Just because, like,
for me, it's pretty much Nintendo for the longest time. I'm talking like N64 up until probably late into the GameCube era, and then we eventually got a GameCube. But the GameCube was my brother's last console. After that, I don't know, he got tired of it or whatever. So then after that, I tried getting a Wii for, I kid you not, for literally the longest time. Like, it came out, I think, sometime like end of 2006. I didn't get one till like April 2007.
Yeah.
Because they were literally in such short supply, which was insane. And then, actually, before I got a Wii, I got to go back to that horrific story I was telling you about earlier.
Yeah, sure, why not? Let's go.
Okay,
yeah.
So one day during the GameCube days, I'm just going to call them GameCube days.
Sure.
My brother literally lost his mind and like destroyed our N64 to pieces.
Wow.
Like literally like 1,000,000 pieces.
Did you beat him at Smash Brothers or something? What happened?
I don't know. Just one day he just like straight up lost it, and the N64 was no longer.
Oh wow. Like just a casualty of what happened. Like he just like went and.
I guess.
Wow.
I don't know. He's I don't know what came over him.
I was gonna say I wonder what pissed him off so bad.
I want to know. Like I still don't understand why he did it. Is he just like lost his shit one day, and next thing I know, no longer have a 64 all in one piece.
Maybe somebody said Mario 64 sucked, and he was just like, "No, it doesn't." He just fucking freaked out. I don't know. Wow.
No,
well,
I wish he cared about it more.
So did that happen like before the GameCube and all that stuff? So like,
no, this happened. When did this happen? Let me think. This happened way late. Like let me think. Which house were we in? Yeah, this happened way late in the GameCube era. Somewhere between GameCube and Wii era. He just got tired of the N64 just chilling there. Probably because it stopped working. I
was going to say, it may have stopped. I was going to say, at least it didn't happen, like, as that was still the relative system. Like,
no.
Yeah, like,
we only got it to work at this point maybe 1 in every 5 times we tried it. Yeah.
So yeah, then he just said, fuck this, and just started smashing it probably. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's funny because like the whole like broken console things, like of course Nintendo back in the day, you know, you had to, you know, everybody thought you had to blow into the cartridges, which by the way, that wasn't helping. That was just
we found that a little late that nobody should be doing that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, rubbing alcohol on a Q-tip does wonders, not blowing your gross spit into a cartridge. And then, yeah, I never had problems though, really, like major problems until like PlayStation. Like I remember my buddy had a PlayStation 1 that it wouldn't read discs unless it was upside down because the
what?
So the laser was so weak and just like frail. And of course, I'm sure he wasn't taking the best care of it and keeping his house keeping his room clean and stuff. But literally, the PlayStation he had, it was the old school PlayStation before they redesigned it into the one, you know, that slimmer version they had. So it was the old.
Yeah. I actually didn't know that the slim version existed up until maybe sometime earlier this year, to be honest.
Yeah, like they had the reduced model that they did like right at the end of the life cycle, almost like PS2, I believe, was out or almost about to be out when they did that.
Yeah. The friend that told me that actually told me that there's a PlayStation 2 Super Slim, and I didn't know about that either.
Yeah, that one was. I worked at a game store when that came out, and I was like, holy shit, look at this thing. But yeah, his PlayStation, like basically, when you put in a disc, it just wouldn't read discs at all. And then, of course, back in the day, the internet wasn't as prevalent to where you could just go Google things or YouTube a video or whatever. It was just like, what do we do? And then, I don't know where he heard, but he came home one day from school. He's like, dude, I heard this might work. And he literally like would put the disc in, turn it on, and flip it upside down right away. And I'm like,
That's what I want to know. It's like, how did he come up with like this solution? Because it's like when I hear about stuff like this, and then like in one of the newer Pokemon games with I think the 3DS is like if you flip over your 3DS, that like one of your Pokemon evolves. It's like how does somebody discover this without like the developer or like the publisher or whoever telling them these things?
Right, exactly.
Like I would not come up with these on my own volition. So I feel like in that situation, I would be screwed out of a PS1.
Yeah, and I mean, also, too, like I said, the internet wasn't a thing where it's not like you can just go to a forum where all these people are talking about their PlayStation issues. So it's like, also, too, it's not like Sony would tell anybody, hey, go ahead and turn your PlayStation upside down. Like, who the hell thinks of that shit? And then he did it, though, and for a while, it actually worked. And I was like, I don't know why this works or how this works, but amazing. It works. And we're going to continue to play games, and then eventually, you know, that's just like a band-aid over the bigger problem, because then eventually they completely get shit out. So but yeah, I mean, there's always those weird little tricks and everything. And like speak of the console redesigns, so PS1 had that redesign, which they initially sold that with like a TV that straight mounted to the back of it. I remember that specifically.
Wow.
And
cool.
Then it was actually like made by Sony, and it like clamshelled in a way to where like when you were traveling, you could just straight close it like a giant ass like 3DS, and then like basically when you pull it out, it was cool though. But again, like I don't know many people that were actually traveling in that sense with a PlayStation to where you needed a screen attached to the damn system. But
yeah, I know what you mean. Right. I have to go through that struggle of traveling with my consoles pretty much every couple months because I'm in college.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's very annoying. Honestly, I hate moving so much.
I can imagine. I'm older and I've
settled down.
I've settled down, but like I was still renting places for a while, and then finally we bought our house, and I'm just like, I don't ever want to move again. I just want to be here. I don't want to go anywhere else. I just want to stay here and everything. Like I don't want to move until my kids are like old and out of the house, and then I'll downsize. But like I don't want to move for many, many years. So. And then the like you were saying, the PS2 remodel. I was working at Game Crazy, which I don't even know if you know what that is.
I don't.
Game Crazy was basically like a GameStop that was attached to Hollywood Video, which used to be like a Blockbuster style.
Oh wait, I think I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah, I used to work there, and
I think a long time ago, I think I actually went to a Hollywood Video, and I think I've seen a Game Crazy.
Yeah, they were basically attached to the Hollywood Video, like they sectioned off.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but there were like gates and chains.
Yep, there was basically chain link fences that held it.
Yes, chain link fence. Yes, I've seen this area.
Yeah, so I used to work there, and I worked there when they launched the Slim model, and I remember the first one coming in, and I was just like, this is ridiculous, because it was literally the size of like a DVD case. It was so tiny. And I'm like,
so tiny compared to the original PS2. It's like, how did you cut it down this much?
Yeah, it was actually really crazy. I was like, this is nuts how small you actually got this thing. And then it still had all the same everything. It had the, because back on the old PS2, you had to buy the network adapter for the Ethernet and all that shit.
Yeah,
this
I heard
one
about
had it
that.
built in. I was like, dude, this thing is crazy. And it was so small. And I remember the original Xbox never had a redesign, so that thing was just still this big ass brick, and then PlayStation had this really small one.
I really don't get how people with tiny hands played the Duke controller.
You didn't. You fucking had hand cramps, and you couldn't play it.
I don't
It sucked.
because like this friend of mine, she's like this short Asian girl, and like she has an original Xbox in her house, and she just like plays like Sonic and like some Star Wars games, and like holding it in my hand, I'm like, oh, this fits, and then looking at her, I'm like, woman, you are like a tiny individual. I don't get how you like play this thing.
Yeah, the Duke, like I remember. I never had an Xbox day one. My buddies did. Like a core group of my friends who lived super close to each other all got Xboxes, all got Halo, and all brought their shit over to my one buddy's house to do System Link. And it was when that system first came out, though, that controller, I remember picking it up for the first time. I'm like, dude, what in the hell am I supposed to do with this? This is ridiculous. And then like that was when like black and because there wasn't RB and LB, there was black and white on the original system, and they were above all the other buttons. I'm like, dude, what am I doing? Like, I can't do this. This is fucking ridiculous. Like, this controller's massive. And then literally when they came out with that controller S, it was like a gift from God for every Xbox person. They were just like, this is the controller that should have come out a very long time ago.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that's how people like looked back on the N64 controller, because it's like, how am I supposed to work with this? And that was like the odd controller out of the generation at the time.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, 64's controller was it was different, but also too the games were made specifically to work well with it. Like it was very strange.
Definitely.
Like, but Nintendo did that too at the GameCube. Like same thing. Like you look at the GameCube controller, which a lot of people like, but like how A is gigantic and then B is so small, and then like it's just weird layout and stuff. And then there's randomly Z out of nowhere, but like. The games that were made so well to work around like the bigger A button, and like just how A was obviously your primary button for everything.
No, absolutely.
Like, they did a really good job with it.
Yeah, for me being like a Nintendo kid, pretty much like from like the N64 through the Wii era, and that was pretty much all I played, with the exception of like a little bit of PS2 when I visited friends and like family friends.
Right.
Like I wouldn't have noticed that the controllers were weird if I didn't play anything else.
Yeah, like because that's what
like
you knew, that's what you grew up on, that's what you remember.
That's all I had, and that was fine for what I was working with. Like I feel like if I tried to use those controllers like on another system, I would be like, this doesn't work well. This is not well designed.
Yeah, and I mean now the controllers are relatively, for the most part, pretty much the same. Nobody has that like super weird controller anymore.
I mean, I'd say in this scenario, it would be Nintendo Switch with the Joy-Cons, but even then, they have the Pro Controller option, which is essentially, to my understanding, almost exactly like an Xbox One controller.
It's literally an Xbox One controller. There's like the only thing they changed is where A, B, X, and Y are. Like it's literally otherwise.
Yeah, it's like that, and then like a little bit of like the way that the actual controller is designed, because I feel like the Xbox controller is a little taller, and then the Switch controller, to my understanding, is a little flatter and wider, a little bit more like a DualShock 4.
Right. Yeah.
That's from what I've seen in pictures. I've not personally held a Switch controller.
Yeah, I will tell you, I do, because of course I have the disposable income and I have kids who want to play games, so I do have.
Oh, look at you!
Yeah, right. Yeah. Also, I have kids though; those are expensive too.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah.
But the Pro Controller though that Nintendo did, like, good for you guys. Like that Pro Controller is absolutely the way to play a majority of the Switch stuff. Like it's funny because. Now, like, I have the Switch, and I honestly, I had Zelda, I have Mario, my kid got Splatoon, he wanted that, and that's about it. Like, I haven't really done much else with it, but I got the Pro Controller because nobody would shut up about how much better it was than the Joy-Cons. Like, everyone who talked about everything on websites, YouTube channels, all this, were like, seriously, please get the Pro Controller, it will be so much better. And I got it, and the Joy-Cons on the system feel fine. Like, they're fine. They're not terrible. They feel fine. The Pro Controller feels amazing. Like, it feels so good. What's weird is when you take the Joy-Cons off the system and you put them in, like, the Joy-Con grip,
Yeah.
That's where, for some reason, it just feels weird. Like, it feels too close to each other, so it feels like the controller's just real small.
That's what I've seen from pictures. It looks like too much of like a square that's just a little too small.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, are you referring to the grip or the charging grip?
Well, I mean, they're essentially, I have both. They're essentially the same. Like, the only difference is that the charge grip has the battery built into the thing, but otherwise, it's a little heavier, but like, not by much. But like, it is actually the same dimensions, though, when you put the Joy-Cons in.
So the design is the same. Okay, yeah, I don't know why Nintendo did that, but that's really besides the point. Yeah, I wish I understood what you're talking about, because for pretty much my entire life, I've been like a one console per generation kind of guy. Mm-hmm. Probably because mostly my parents were buying the stuff for me, and then up until recently, you know, I'm still like a broke college student, not going to really only afford to have one console. But
also, too, I mean, like, the thing is that for the most part now, I mean, the good thing, though, is that, I mean, this is kind of the same thing back then, is that majority of the awesome games come out on everything. But then there's occasionally the console exclusive here and there that will make people go, damn, I wish I had that for this one game. You know what I mean? Like that. Yeah,
or like certain features on another console that would like make it a worthwhile investment as a secondary console.
Yeah, exactly. Like, some people have their primary machine and then their secondary machine for exclusives, which in a way that's kind of what my primary machine's my Xbox, and then I have PlayStation for the exclusives, Switch for the exclusives, but also too, like, the Nintendo exclusives are pretty good to where it's like, no, these are pretty justified. You know, I plan on getting more than just a game a year or whatever for this console, so hopefully Nintendo just makes them. That's all I can beg of them. So,
no, absolutely.
So then going back, like, obviously you kind of, like you said, you went Nintendo route, so you went GameCube, and then you went Wii.
And then,
obviously...
Yeah, I went Wii. That was alone. My brother, at that point, he'd fallen off, so I just tried to game as much as I could. When my parents didn't feel the need that they needed to buy video games for both of us, they kind of cared less about it.
Oh, okay, that sucks. It's like, hey, brother, get back into it so we can get some cool shit.
Yeah, no, it made it a struggle to get games pretty regularly. I think at that point I was getting maybe... like maybe 2 or 3 games a year.
But that's typical. I mean, when you're a kid and stuff, like, I mean, I was in that same boat though, where I got. Luckily, my birthday fell in June, to where it was like every 6 months.
My birthday is also in June.
There you go. So like every 6 months, I at least was able to get a game. For sure. Like birthday, Christmas.
Yeah. I kind of get what you mean.
So yeah, that was the good thing.
We don't really celebrate Christmas, but like we would still like celebrate the traditions of Christmas. Like, oh, get them some gifts. I'd be like, okay, cool. So like, yeah, unless there was like a big release, like the only ones I can remember getting at launch on purpose were like Smash Bros. Brawl and I think one of the Guitar Hero games. But the rest of them I just got whenever I could find them.
Right. Yeah, and like even when I was
and Super Mario Galaxy. Those are the only 3 games I got at launch during the Wii era.
Well, that's good. I mean, yeah, like very rarely did I end up getting a game that was not a birthday or Christmas gift, like unless I like did a bunch of chores or busted my ass or got good grades or something, my parents felt like, oh, I guess my grandma.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, like let's get this for him. But yeah, I mean the other thing that was cool too though is at least I also was lucky enough to have a bunch of kids in my neighborhood that we all gamed together, to where when their birthdays fell on shit, we would kind of like encourage them to get certain games. Like, oh, dude, man, your birthday's next month. Yo, Resident Evil 2 just came out, dude. You should get that. Oh, your birthday's this month.
I wish I had that kind of friend group growing up, because I've moved, like, my family alone, like, not me going to college. We've moved, I think, 6 times in my lifetime.
Oh, geez.
So I've not had a, like, stable group of friends, like, for longer than maybe 5 years tops.
Damn.
With the exception of now, because the last 3 houses, including my current house that we've been moving to, are in the same like zip code, so I can still know the same people.
Right, so you're not moving across neighborhoods or across different parts of the city.
For me, it's like across neighborhoods. It's not like different cities. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like the first 3 moves were 3 completely different cities. The next 3 moves were like in the same rough area. So I'd just be like, oh, I'm moving like across town. Like we can still be friends and hang out or whatever. So that's not a big deal. And then like my friends from high school, it's like they either went off to college, so I'm either communicating with them either through social media, or if they have a PlayStation, I'm communicating through PlayStation. Or if they're at home, when I go back home, I hang out with them and like when you were talking about your Halo situation with the LAN party, the first LAN party I had ever been to was actually like winter break of like last year with some friends of mine because we got together and played Rocket League.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good. God bless Rocket League, right? Like that game. It's
great game.
It's such a good game, and it's funny too because now I don't want to be that old guy, but I'm starting to become that old guy to where I didn't give a shit about Rocket League. I was just like, whatever, Rocket League. Everybody says it's cool, whatever. But my son, on the other hand, was like, Dad, I want to buy Rocket League with my allowance. And I'm like, are you sure? You know, like, and because the thing is, like, I remember being a kid and having that like urge to buy a game just to find out it wasn't that good or great, and you were bummed because you couldn't return it. You know, you're like, shit, I just wasted a game, money I could buy a good game with for this game. So I always ask him like 100 times, like, are you sure you want to buy this game? Are you sure? Are you sure you're going to play it for a long time? Are you sure you're going to enjoy it? And no, he's like, no, Dad, I want to play it. I'm like, cool. So I bought it for him, and then it was like, I'd probably say like a couple months down the line, one of my buddies was just playing it, and I'm like, is this game actually good? And he's like, are you fucking kidding me? Yes, this game is amazing. You need to play it. And then, thankfully, because my son bought it digitally, me and him do game sharing. He has his own Xbox in his room.
Nice.
And I downloaded it, played it, and I was like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with me? Why have I not been playing this already for months now? And for a while there, I was on a really big Rocket League kick. And again, thanks to my son, because if it wasn't for my son pushing, me to, for him to get it, I wouldn't have had a chance to play it. So that's where I felt like, oh, I'm that old guy now who's just like, back in my day, we had good games, not this Rocket League shit. And now it's like, no, my, at the time, like 10-year-old kid had a really good idea of getting Rocket League. So there's still games he plays, though, I don't give a shit about. That's okay.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. For me, it was kind of like the opposite way. Like, I'd have to ask my parents 100 times just to get one thing. So I just thought it was really funny that you're asking, it's like, you sure you want to get this game? That's priceless.
Well, I mean, I also, too, I know how it is. Like, I know how it feels to want a game because you hear all these cool things and think it's going to be awesome, and then you get the game and it sucks, and you're like, fuck, man, I just wasted a game for my birthday on this garbage. This sucks. Like, I think the worst example of that, which is way back, before you, was Power Rangers in like the 90s was amazing, and it was the shit.
Yeah. And
they had Power Rangers everything, and they came out with this Power Rangers Sega Genesis game, which is basically like an arcade side-scrolling, like just beat 'em up, Okay. And I remember wanting it so bad just because I was a stupid kid who liked Power Rangers, and I got it, beat it in like 30 minutes, and I was like, fuck, that's it? I'm done. This is it. I'm already done with this game. And
you did in 30 minutes?
Yeah, and it was 30 minutes. And, of course, you could kind of go through with different characters. But, I mean, essentially, you had 5 different people you could play the game as, and you're going to beat it in 30 minutes. And there wasn't much you could do afterwards. So I'm like, fuck, I just wasted a game that I could have got a way better game instead of this Power Rangers game. So now I felt stupid. And, of course, my mom probably overpaid for it and had to find it somewhere and probably, went all these stores to find it just to find out I beat it in 30 minutes. Pretty much, she was like, are you kidding me? I'm like, no, I'm not. This really sucks. I'm sorry. So, yeah, that's why at least I went through those things so I could ask my son, are you sure you're going to play this? And again, he's made the mistake, though. So hopefully he's learned from it. He's like bought a game that he heard was awesome, and then he played. He's like, Dad, I don't really like this game. I'm like, well, I can't refund it, so sorry, kid. But, oh well, that's going to happen and everything. So then you went... and that was like you said, that was like your system. Your brother was already out of it and stuff.
Yeah, my parents had gotten that for me, and then I played Wii for a while, and then there was this time that I called the dark years, where I kind of fell off because I wasn't really using my Wii that often. Mm-hmm. And this is probably also the time I like started picking up, like, I'm embarrassed to say, like, browser games.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, so I just play stuff like...
I like how you said it like it's a dirty thing. It's like... browser. I mean, it's not like you said heroin. Like, you just said browser.
I mean, granted, but it's like you don't even need processing power. You just need an internet connection.
Right.
Like, it's like I played stuff like Stick RPG, and then like later my friends got into RuneScape, so I was like, let me try this. And then I binged on RuneScape for like the longest time because I'd never played an MMO RPG before, and I was like, what is this game? This game is amazing.
Right.
Blah blah blah. I was like, oh my gosh, I can play this with my friends, do whatever. It's like it like fit into like my fantasy RPG needs, but it's like I can play with other people. I can like work on the Grand Exchange and play like a stock market. I can like do these crazy quests, and it had like everything I didn't know I wanted, which is a weird way to describe a game.
No, you're fine. I mean, I just think it's funny because the way you said it, you made it sound like you were on drugs. You're like, yeah, I had this dark time. I played browser games. It's not like you said heroin.
To for gamer culture, it's like that'd be like me saying like now I play like mobile games. It's like me looking back then. It's like I couldn't consider that like gaming time for me. It's like I'm like sort of embarrassed to say I did that, but it's like I don't know. I just like for some reason I just fell off my Wii because like I wasn't enjoying some of the games I played. Like I got really good recommendations for games to play on there, but it's just like I could tell it wasn't like as not like popular or like there was something different between that and like the 360 and PS3 generation.
Right. No, I mean, and everybody has their weird times where they go and, stray away. Mine was for about 4 years. I didn't play video games at all. I was skateboarding nonstop, and I didn't play anything. Really? Like, I stopped giving a shit about video games, and I was just like, I don't care. I want to skateboard instead. And that was what I did for like 4 years. And then I got that job at the video game store, and that blew up everything again. That's where everything came back fully. So
nice.
So then, after your dark time, quote unquote,
what got me back?
Yeah, what got you back into it? Was it a particular game or like a system launch or?
Probably one of the most popular games of all time. A friend of mine, he's like, "Yo, I gotta show you this video of this game." So I was like, "Okay," and he shows me a sniping mission called "All Gillied Up" from COD 4.
Yep.
Yes, and he's like, "Dude, this is amazing." I was like, "Dude, this looks amazing." He eventually got an Xbox 360, and then whenever I went over to his house, that's all we played. And mind you, I like literally never played a first-person shooter before that. You know how I told you I had an N64? I did not play GoldenEye. I missed that completely. I never played Halo. I tried Halo 2 and I did not. But me trying COD 4 with him, like I said, I was bad, but there was one thing that I could beat him at. Whenever we played pistols only, I had the maddest trigger finger he'd ever seen. So anything that was semi-auto, like what was that one? What am I thinking of? There's one assault rifle in COD 4 that is, I think there's two of them actually. It's like the M14. Yeah. Whenever we played like M14s or pistols, like I would wreck his face. Other than he pretty much beat me all the time. So yeah. He could tell I had a knack for these things. I just needed some practice.
Right. Yeah, and that's funny too because like I remember Call of Duty obviously had been out before Modern Warfare. Like. Oh, yeah, Call of Duty 2 was out, and like I remember with 360 launching like Call of Duty 2 and Call of Duty 3 because I worked at Game Crazy right when the 360 launched, and like those were games that people played, but nowhere near until Modern Warfare hit. Like as soon as Modern Warfare came out, it exploded. Like Call of Duty became the shit, and that was actually back when I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like I remember, playing it, and it was just. I guess it was just. It's weird because I want to say I enjoyed it more because it was more simple. But then there's games I enjoy now that are far more complex. You know what I mean? It's just weird because it's like that progression of like only having 3 kill streaks. That's it. You know what I mean? There wasn't options to choose others. There wasn't all these crazy customizable options to put, weed leaves on your guns and shit. Like it was, you know what I mean? Like it was just.
Oh, like, sorry. When I told my friend that there was this pack of like stuff you could put on that had weed leaves called Blunt Force, he like died laughing. It was the funniest thing I've heard. And he's like, "Dude, I gotta get that." I was like, "You don't even have Call of Duty Ghosts," and he's like, "I'm gonna go get it." I was like, "You're ridiculous."
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Like, eventually it got to the point where it was just getting ridiculous. But like, and I remember it was funny because like for me, I was big into Halo though, right? So like Xbox generation, like I played Halo, of course, Halo 2. I played online every day for probably over a year. Like it wasn't a day I missed. It was like the absolute shit. And then 360 came out, Halo 3, all that. But then yeah, Call of Duty for like I think it just changed a bunch of people, especially the like you said, like it brought you back into gaming. Where I think it brought a bunch of people like, into gaming who weren't as into it. Like that, and how it was good. It was solid. Maps are good. Like. You know what I mean? Like, and then obviously they just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And did you eventually? Are you still on the Call of Duty train, or did you eventually fall off? Because I fell off a while back.
I'd say I fell off to an extent. I'm gonna go through it. Let me tell you a little more. So at that point, I still hadn't bought an Xbox 360, but I found out my cousin who was trying to emigrate to the U.S. had a 360. So he would visit every couple months, and then we just played Xbox 360 for as long as he could, as long as I could, and then he left. And then he eventually moved in about, let me think, like 2011, and we were pretty much playing video games like every day, like up until like I graduated high school. And that was about 2 years before. So me having access to his Xbox 360, we played COD for like the longest time. For like my COD stories, I'd be like, I played a lot of Modern Warfare 2 on my friend's console. Probably like the entire summer we spent the summer when we weren't at summer school for PE. I didn't fail PE, mind you. I took it to get ahead.
I like how you want to make sure I bring this clear. I didn't fail it. I wanted to get ahead.
I did the same thing next year for English. Again, didn't fail it. I was actually doing it to get ahead. I'm not some stupid kid.
That's the only thing that sucks is like when you tell people you go to summer school, that's their initial thought.
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, you're stupid." I was like, "No, do it to get ahead." They're like, "Oh no, you're stupid for taking school. You're not stupid because you missed it."
But again, a lot of kids were stupid and didn't do it. Or, you know, the thing is like, I don't think it was mostly like kids that were stupid because like that would be really sad, but it was more kids that didn't give a shit to go to school or just skipped out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like when I took English over summer school, it was like one of the required classes.
Right.
And there was this one giant assignment that they did all school year. And if they messed that up, they had to retake it. So pretty much anybody who fucked up that assignment was there over the summer.
Right.
And I was just there with a bunch of like, I don't know how you explain delinquents, essentially.
There you go. Yeah, that's probably the nicest way to say it.
It was really crazy.
Delinquents.
Honestly, that's the best way. That's the best way I could put it. But like me and my cousin, like we went to a launch party for Modern Warfare 3,
mm-hmm.
and they were having a headshot tournament, and it was 2v2. So it was me and my cousin versus some other dudes, and we made it to the final round. And I choked, and he got so mad at me. We get a chance. But yeah, we got those, at that point, for some reason, that was the only year I could think of that they didn't do like a prestige edition. They only did a hardened edition for like the collector's edition stuff. So yeah, we got like the hardened edition, and then after that, I convinced him to get Black Ops 2, but it wasn't like on launch day. It was like later that week. But Black Ops 2 is like where, for me, probably is like the height of like my Call of Duty career, because like I played that game, and like no matter how stressful school was, I would like the way I managed my school time was insane, because I would like go to school, I'd come back, I would immediately go to sleep, I would wake up, do my homework, eat dinner, finish my homework, and then if I had some time between like let's say 1 and 4 a.m., I would be playing COD.
So you
I'd still have to get up at like
you just
5:30.
You just swap sleep and normal stuff around.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I learned, that I could like cut my sleep in half, spread it out, and figure out more time to do my shit.
Right. That always works.
Which is great. But like, yeah, like so whenever he wasn't playing FIFA, because he's a FIFA addict, whenever he wasn't playing FIFA, I would be playing Black Ops 2. And eventually I got so good that I started playing League Play. And I was getting competitive. I was doing game battles. Like that was when I took COD the most seriously.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember when I got out of it. I remember Modern Warfare 3. It might have been Modern Warfare 3, actually, because I think like,
it might have been Modern Warfare 3, because a lot of people got kind of burnt out on Modern Warfare 3.
I think that was it. Like when Modern Warfare 3 happened, I think that was it. I remember Black Ops 1 being awesome. Black Ops 2, I don't remember getting Black Ops 2 right away. My brother-in-law, we got into it. Like I went to his house and played it. And it was funny because, like, I usually played on Xbox, where a majority of the Call of Duty players were playing, because that was the system that had the exclusive content and, in my opinion, the better controller and blah, blah, blah. And I remember going to his house for during a vacation, and he was all into Black Ops 2, but he played on PS3. And I was like, oh, I'll play with you. And I remember fucking people up. Like, not playing a Call of Duty game for a while, just fucking people up. And I'm like, I'm not this good at this game. What is going on? And then he's just like, I don't know, dude. Like, I'm good at shooters, right? I'm not like incredible at shooters, but for some reason playing against I don't know. And this is my head. I felt like playing against PlayStation people, they just weren't as good as the top Xbox people. So like, I felt like it was just like beating up a bunch of people who just Yeah, it's like being an adult beating up a bunch of kids. Like, they're just not as good as you. They don't have the same skill as you because on Xbox, there's so many more people that are so much more skilled. And then I eventually, when I got back home from vacation with him, I got Black Ops 2 for PS3 just so me and him could fuck up everybody on there.
That's really funny, actually.
Yeah, it's so weird, but it's just odd but again, now, it's still weird because Call of Duty now has flip-flopped where they have the marketing deal with Sony and all that stuff, yet they still sell more copies on Xbox regardless. And I think it's just because all those fans that were on the 360 era don't want to lose their friends. They don't want to change controllers. No, absolutely. They just go straight to Xbox.
Yeah, I don't know how they did it, but there's that group of people, like the way this console generation is flipped, it's like there's like people who go from Xbox 360 to Xbox One, that makes sense. People went from PS3 to PS4, that makes sense. People went from Xbox 360 to PS4 like myself, because after I graduated high school, my cousin moved out, and then I literally got an Xbox 360 the summer before the PS4 came out, just so I had some video games to play.
Just something to do.
And that was technically the first video game I bought, or video game console I bought for myself. It was some sketchy dude off of Craigslist. And he left the Halo 2 disc in there.
Oh, okay. Free game. Yay. That's awesome.
You don't understand. It was not Halo 2. It was Halo. It was ODST, and it was one of those multi-disc games, so I couldn't even play it.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind then. Who gives a shit? Just use it as a frisbee.
It's fine. The point is that console broke about 6 months later, but at that point I already had the PS4.
Right.
And something to tell you about that console that broke, it was literally so old it didn't even have an HDMI port. It was an OG Xbox 360.
Yes.
Arcade edition.
A lot of people forget about that. Like, when that system first came out, HD televisions were still, I'm not going to say super expensive, but they weren't relevant, like, at all. Like, if you had one, you were, like, upper echelon shit. You know what I mean? Like, you were...
Would you describe that as how 4K TVs are now?
At this point in time, yes. But that's quickly going to change, in my opinion, just because they're getting so cheap and getting good at cheap prices. Like, I think that's how it is now. Like, some people, like, I have a 4K TV. Actually, I think I might be the only one of my friends that does.
Wow.
But the thing is, though, is that but I'm talking like, for example, when at Game Crazy, when... because the other thing is, like, GameCube and PS2 and Xbox all had component cables that you could buy, right? So they had component cables that were upgrades. However...
What did game consoles use before component cables? Like, I'm not old enough to know.
Oh, God.
Because, like, the N64 also had component cables, right?
The cables for GameCube worked on N64. Like, that's the thing that's crazy. If you think about it, Super Nintendo, 64, GameCube all use the exact same port. For their video cables. So, like, technically you could use, like, 64 with component cables and everything. But yeah, basically before they just had red, white, and yellow cables, which were just, it looked the same. It's just, it didn't have the separation of colors.
Yeah, that's what I remember from the N64, just red, white, and yellow.
Right. And that was what everybody had. But I remember because because at Game Crazy, we had demo stations for all three systems. And we just had standard ass TVs there, like 14-inch CRT TVs or whatever. And then when the 360 came out, they literally brought in like a 22-inch Samsung high-def TV. And at the time, we were like, holy shit, we have a high-def TV right here. But also, that was so needed when the 360 came out, because that's when that graphical jump happened to where when you showed somebody Call of Duty 2 or Fight Night Round 3 on a high-def TV, people lost their fucking minds. People were like so blown away at how much better it looked that helped sell the console. So I know Microsoft had a partnership with Samsung to where like every Xbox demo station I ever saw had a Samsung TV there. So they were kind of helping each other in a way of like showing off the TV, but also showing how good the graphics look on that TV. Like, it was insane. But again, like, that was, but the thing is, at that time, HDMI wasn't even the thing yet. Like, that was not the primary source of connection at the time. Like, it was all component cables still. And then PS3 came out, and that was the big selling point with that system. Like, this has HDMI, which is the better cable, which does give you better blah, 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 all of the above, right? And that was a really big deal. And there was a ton of systems that were sold, 360s that were sold, didn't have HDMIs. They just straight didn't. And then, then when they redid it with the Elite console, that's when they included HDMI built into it. They had these like conversion kits that you could buy, but they always were, they weren't the best. But yeah, I mean, and yeah, they eventually they came out.
They were jank.
Yeah, they were really jank. They sucked. Like, they weren't that great. But then, that was like the big selling point.
Yeah, no,
like,
I noticed.
That was the big sell. Dude, I remember the funny thing is, if you look back, go look at PS3 concepts. The original PS3 console, like, before it went into production, before they finalized everything, had 3 HDMI ports out. So you could hook up 3 separate monitors. And I'm like, all right, Sony, you're fucking ridiculous. Like, nobody's going to do this. Like, that's where they narrowed it down to just have one. But, I mean, the only thing that sucked, too, is when Nintendo was so far back and they were barely still doing component, you know what I mean? When, like, 360 and PS3 all had HDMI and Wii's all, like, component, yay.
I was like, what's the deal with this?
Yeah, well, Nintendo's never focused on that ever, and then Wii U, they finally got their shit together and they were like, oh, we might want to put an HDMI on this thing. So then, like you said, now you've kind of gone PS4 route, and yeah, like you said, sometimes that was weird because you had to make sure your core group of buddies went the same route. I
guess I didn't have that problem.
You said you did or didn't?
I didn't have that problem because, like I said, I didn't have that many friends that I knew that were into gaming, because like, since I didn't have my own console, I didn't bother being like, we should play together, because it would be like, I have to use my cousin's Xbox, I'll let you know when he's not using it.
Gotcha.
So like,
right,
I didn't play I play a lot online for somebody who doesn't have a lot of friends, which is a weird thing to say.
Well, yeah, I mean, now though, it's gotten a lot easier and better to be able to make friends. I mean, now there's message boards, now there's, groups, now there's, like all these different things that are out there that make it considerably easier for people to play online. So at least that there's that out there. So what have you been
pretty
playing?
Popular among my friends. So I was going to say, like, after I got, just to finish up like the Xbox 360 story, the funny thing is, like I told you, the Xbox broke, but I still had my PS4, and I was supposed to give the Xbox to my brother because my mom was like, you already have the PS4, just let him have something to play. So I was like, okay, that's a fair point. I don't like listening to this, but sometimes she makes sense. So the Xbox broke, and I swapped it in for a new one at GameStop, and this one had an HDMI. And when I came home with it, my brother was like, oh, this one has an HDMI now. I was like, yeah, totally. Had an HDMI the entire time.
Right.
Yeah, he just didn't figure it out. He's not the brightest kid.
Yeah, I mean, but again, now kids are used to, kids are used to internet being.
I'm just ragging on.
No, you're fine. Kids are, I mean, like my kids now, my kids have never grown up in a time where the internet wasn't a consistent thing that was available. You know what I mean? Like, just imagine like when the internet goes out, my kids are just like, what do we do? They don't even know what to do. They're just like, Dad, the internet's out.
That's
like,
when you bring back. That's when you bring them back to card games and board games.
Yeah, exactly. Or go outside. Go do something else. The only thing is, I'm in Arizona, so going outside when it's summertime.
That's not a good
really
idea.
Different. Yeah, it's really different out here. Like, that's the thing that sucks is like when I used to live in Illinois, so in the summertime, that was your time to go out and have fun because it never got hot. But out here, it's like the opposite. It's like, go outside and play when it's December, when it's like 80 degrees outside and it's wonderful, not when it's 115 out because you're going to die outside on the concrete.
Awful there, but I mean, like, yeah, that's just it. So basically, I've just been playing a lot of PS4 this generation. Every now and then, I'll like visit a friend. They'll be like, "I have an Xbox." I'll be like, "Okay, let's play," because like I never really had a chance to play that much Xbox stuff. My cousin who had a 360, he moved to an Xbox One, so I played some games on his. I tried some exclusives like Rise. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, that was.
And then I had another friend of mine. Yeah, I had another friend of mine. He let me play Sunset Overdrive. I was like, dude, this game is fucking amazing.
Yes, it very much. It's so good, and it sucks because I don't think we're gonna see another one ever. But that game is great.
I was like, yo, this game is so good. And then like now, I'm only at college for one more semester, and my mom's like, don't take your PlayStation. It's very nice and expensive. And I was like, you're kind of right. So I told my brother, I'm taking the 360. You can play my PS4 at home. He's like, okay. He's like, he didn't have any complaints because like he's like kind of like a casual gamer now because like he'll play like sports games and like sometimes I can get him to play like Rocket League or like Call of Duty with me or like some other random co-op thing. But like he doesn't like play on his own volition.
Gotcha. Like he plays mostly because you're there playing with him and stuff.
He'll play because I'm there, or he'll play sports games because he likes sports because he's like a sports dude. Yeah, so that's just like that's just him. But like so yeah, I played a lot of PS4 this generation. I've had to keep swapping them out because they keep breaking on me. I'm on my. Okay, hear me out. The first one literally overheated because I played too much Rocket League. I shit you not. Listen, when it was free on PS Plus, I was on vacation, but I had the app, so I just claimed it and downloaded it. When I got back off of vacation, I played it for half an hour. I was like, this game is something special because everybody on Podcast Beyond or Kind of Funny or whatever Facebook group was like, this game is amazing. Everybody needs to play it. And I was just, I was on vacation reading all these posts, and I was like, I can't play this, so I wouldn't know. And when I got back, I was like, everybody was right. This game is amazing. And then I played it for maybe about a month and a half straight. And then, like, apparently there was something where if you leave it running on the home screen, that because of all the particle physics, it actually is more intensive than actually the game. So my PS4 overheated.
Wow.
And I had about a month left. On my warranty. So I was like, I need to use this, or else I'm gonna be out another $400 to pay for a completely new console.
Right.
So I did the same thing, and then I swapped it out. I got a new one. Now, fast forward to earlier this year. Let's say around March. I was coming home for spring vacation, and I had my PS4 in like my my shitty gaming bag. Mind you, this shitty gaming bag I'm referring to is basically just my old backpack.
Okay.
Like I had to get a new backpack for college because my shit just didn't fit in it. So I had an old backpack. My old backpack is what I used to carry around all my gaming stuff. That probably wasn't the smartest idea, because to my understanding, in the move, I think to home for about a week, I think I got damaged. Let me describe to you what's wrong. My Bluetooth receiver will not properly read wireless controllers.
So maybe knock something loose inside or whatever if it got jostled around too hard or something.
Something got knocked loose inside. So my main issue was that the sticks, like the input it would receive from the sticks, it would get extra input. So like let's say you were running like I had an example where I was playing Far Cry Primal, great game by the way, platinumed it, and let's say you were running forward and then you like stop and turn. You would either continue running forward, continue moving forward, or continue turning after you let go of the sticks.
Wow, that's really weird.
Now imagine trying to play a stealth game. That is literally impossible.
Yeah, you can't do that shit. You need precision. You can't be doing that extra.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Shit.
So I didn't have the new ones with the light bar or whatever, so I swapped out every single one of my controllers. I tried plugging them in wired, and none of that worked. So I got kind of bummed out and just fell off of playing, like, I would call hardcore games, and I played, like, simple stuff, Telltale stuff, or, like, Life of Strange.
Right.
Games that were light on gameplay and heavy on story. But this is also during my platinum binge earlier this year, where I was trying to go for 1 platinum a month, roughly, on average.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, honestly, it wasn't that hard. I beat it in like early July.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially the Telltale games. Like if you just kind of beat
no, I understand, mind you, but I also did play large games. Like I platinumed Horizon Zero Dawn in about 3.5 weeks.
Dude,
I platinumed Far Cry Primal. I platinumed Watch Dogs 2. Yeah, this is just a bunch of the AAA games, and the rest of them are like Telltale games. Life is Strange, and then like small indie games that I'm just not going to get into because this is one of those things that caused a big uproar in the gaming community, and I don't need to be targeted for playing these games.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, dude, the same thing happened though back in the day with achievements. Like you had your on.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure. Like people were talking about like
your 1,000 out of 1,000 in Avatar, where you just hit the B button over and over.
Like 2 hours, yeah.
Yeah, like there's always those types of games that were easy. My favorite thing is back in the day when 360 first came out, because achievements were brand new, and they had them, from the day the system came out.
Yeah, achievements were at launch for 360, to my understanding. They came about 2 years later on PS3.
Yeah, so they had trophies eventually, like, added on after the fact. But yeah, from the 360, from the very beginning, there was achievements. The problem is, because they were so new, people didn't really understand how to kind of mess with them. They were just like, we're still figuring out how to make this cool. So like, it's funny because those very first 360 games that came out, like Madden, for example, Madden I want to say it was '06 or something. I mean, it's obviously a long ass time ago, but that Madden game only had like 5 achievements, but they were worth like 100 points, 300 points, 200 points. Like they didn't really understand.
Because to my understanding, every game has to beat 1,000 gamer score. But the number of achievements would determine how much each is worth.
Exactly, right. So the only difference was back in the day, the arcade games, they actually had a cap of like 200, I believe. Like this was before there was no line blur between arcade and actual full retail release. Like if it was a retail release though, yeah, it had to have 1,000 gamer score. There was very few games that added more because it was with DLC, they could add more.
Right, yeah.
But now like indie games, it doesn't matter. Like I think all of them have 1,000 now. But like back in the day, that was also, there was a size limit on arcade games because they had to be able to fit on the memory card that Xbox sold, because that was the whole point of an arcade game. It was meant to be a smaller game you could put on memory card and take to a buddy's house. And then eventually they got to the point where they were like, fuck this, nobody does this. And then they just removed that cap of how big the game could be. And then that's when like bigger games started coming to Xbox Live Arcade, like State of Decay. Like that game would have never been able to launch if they had the old guidelines of when it first came out. Like,
I'm sure.
Yeah, like I think that game was like 1 or 2 gigs, and like the old cap used to be, I think, like 256 megs was the biggest in arcade games.
That's insane.
Yeah, dude, they sold Xbox 360 memory cards, and a lot of people forget that. Like they sold memory.
Oh my
cards.
gosh, I remember that because the 360 I'm playing with right now has 2 memory card slots, and I was like, I've never used this thing. And I just have like a 60 gig hard drive that I'm just chilling with.
Exactly. So many people did not have memory cards, and then they got to the point where a software update later, you could use USB sticks for memory cards, and then those became useless. They were just like, whatever, just plug in a flash drive and then just put all your shit on that. So that was later on down the road, though. So, as far as it goes, if people want to play games with you, I'm sorry.
Well, no, I'm sorry. I didn't finish my my PlayStation story.
Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
Weird. So, like I said, it was acting strange, and then like right before I came back for this semester, I was like, I need to go to GameStop and swap this out for a new console because I need to leave my brother with something playable.
Right.
And mind you, at this specific GameStop, I go to on and off like when I'm home. And everybody there had quit or been fired about a month and a half, maybe 2 months prior to me showing up at this particular location. So everybody here is new. There's this one guy working. I went there first thing in the morning, right when they opened. And I went in to claim my warranty to get a new one. And he's like, because you know how I told you I got the PS4 at launch. Right. So I had to buy it at $400. And then when I used my warranty 2 years later, it was literally days before they announced the first price drop. Literally days. So it was still within that initial price point range.
Right.
And then when I went this time, he said your console fits of the range of $300 to $400 for a warranty on a product. And he said, I have a Pro model in the back. And I was like, oh really? And he's like, I don't know I'm supposed to be doing this, but it fits the price range, so I'm just going to let you have it.
Nice. So you went in, swapped it out, got the Pro?
Yeah, I got the Pro pretty much for free. All I did was just pay for a new warranty, which I planned on doing anyways, but this was a benefit. Because he was like, we don't have any 500 gigs in store, so he couldn't even give me one anyways. And I was just looking to get a Slim, and he's like, I have a Pro in the back. You can have it. Because he said, if I wanted to get another 500 gig, I would have had to drive to a different store. And then I was like, I don't feel like driving that far. I have shit to do. And then he's like, yeah, you can just have this Pro. Like, my manager's not here. I'll just let you have this. I was like, all right, cool. So, yeah.
That
just
can't complain about that.
Yeah, I really can't. So, like, literally the couple days before I moved back, I literally just spent time, like, setting up my PlayStation, downloading all my games so my brother could play some stuff, connecting my profile, connecting his profile, because he has his own PSN ID. He just like uses my account for essentially PS Plus, and then he just does whatever.
Right.
Kind of makes sense. And then I have PS Plus good through for at least through like all of next year. So like he won't have to worry about that unless there's like a PSN outage or like a hack or whatever. But I mean like so I just spent the past couple days like before that just like setting up, and basically he just has like a PS4 Pro just chilling, waiting for him to use it, and I'm here chilling with this Xbox 360, working on my backlog of games that I missed last generation. And one of the reasons I was talking about like getting being a one console kind of guy is because with everything I've been hearing about the Xbox One, is I'm considering getting an S because I could, I could play my 360 games,
right.
and then I could play the exclusives on Xbox One. And I'm not that interested in Xbox One X, but for me, like if I was to get into 4K, I could just use my PS4, and then if I got an Xbox One S, I could scale up my games to 4K on a 4K TV. So I feel like this is a good situation for me to be in, because the only other console I would consider getting is a Switch. But to my understanding, based on my financial situation, that a Switch would cost me more money to get than an Xbox One S.
Yeah. Like right now, the Switch, I mean, there's so many, and actually as we speak right now, there's like ridiculous deals going on the S, like combos with like games and all of this. Like I saw the other day, they had an S combo with Forza Horizon 3, which is an amazing game. Even if you don't give a shit about racing games, it's so good. And it was like $200. And I'm like, how the hell could you say that's such a good deal? And
yeah, no, it's really good actually.
Yeah, and I like I said, I primarily play on Xbox myself. I have an S.
Nice. Are you planning on getting an X?
100%, yeah. But also too, I mean, like, I am lucky enough to be able to do these types of things and stuff, but like, yeah, I mean, I have a 4K TV. That was another situation of mine where that kind of happened with your PlayStation thing, where your PlayStation shit out and then you got a Pro. With me, I had a warranty on my TV. I had a Panasonic Plasma. It was such a good TV, like the best TV. Shit out. Best Buy came out and they go, we can't fix this. Plasmas aren't around anymore. We don't have panels anymore. We can't repair it. So we're going to give you the money back and you can get whatever TV you want. And I ended up paying a little bit more, but I ended up getting my 4K TV because of that. Like,
oh wow,
that's nice. How, yeah. So it's the same thing with you with the Pro. Like you went in. And
just like warranty swap essentially. Like, yeah, no, basically. This is really good. Like, if I'd seen this coming a long time ago, I would have been like, yeah, I should just warranty swap on everything.
Yeah, I used to work at Best Buy, so, I mean, I know the benefits of it, so I buy warranties on everything. And I know it's a little bit more money, but also, too, in this benefit where they were like, for $200 more, you can get this 4K TV that's amazing. I'm like, yeah, why not? You know what I mean? Like, that's how I did my stuff, too. So, but yeah, I mean, I have an Xbox One S. The HDR alone looks really nice. Like, let alone the 4K stuff. HDR is literally where your head will explode with colors. Like,
yeah, no, absolutely. That's what I've been hearing. It's like a little game changer. And like in my house, we have like a 40-inch 720 TV in the living room, and in my room, I have a 1080 like 32-inch. Mm-hmm. So like the 1080 is good for most stuff, but like when I moved down to the living room, it's like I can notice it's not as good, but like while I'm not a visual guy, I would still like the HDR and like 4K if it was possible. So I'm trying to convince my dad to get a 4K TV. Probably not going to be this year, but I think I might be able to convince him to get it sometime next year if like our TV gets like old and crappy, because we've literally had the 720p TV for like a decade.
Yeah, no, like I said, I mean, and that's what I was saying earlier. Is like 4K TVs. I think it might not be this year, but next year they're just going to get to a point where they're pretty solid TVs for a pretty good price, and most people like it's going to get to that point where 4K TVs are literally going to be the majority of the TVs you're going to see are 4K, whereas like 1080p TVs are going to be harder to get. Like I think it's going to be next year is probably going to be that tipping point. But I mean, I'm extremely happy with the TV I got right now. I've watched like a couple videos in 4K, like it has a 4K Blu-ray player. I've gotten a couple 4K things. It's cool, but literally the HDR part of it is where it makes a difference. Like it sounds.
Oh yeah.
The HDR 4K, is literally the difference.
Yeah, the 4K Blu-ray player was another thing I'm thinking of, because it's like if I get a 4K TV, it's like I'll have the PS4 Pro for 4K gaming roughly. I know it's not perfect, but it does some games.
Right.
And then like I could use the 4K Blu-ray player for like 4K videos if I wanted to watch on the Xbox One S. It's like for my situation, for this might be a particular situation of mine. I'm sure there's other people that might be in the same situation, but it's like if I can get this, it seems like a good gaming setup for like the first time in my life a multi-console per generation setup.
Yeah, and again, like it's always, it's if you could do it, do it. I mean, obviously, you just have to focus on where you're going to do. Like, I have a PS4 for the exclusives. Like, I barely turn it on, but like those exclusives, like Horizon, I was like, yes, and that so far,
no,
Horizon,
I know what you mean.
And Horizon, even though I've played Zelda this year, Horizon's actually my game of the year so far. Like, Horizon was such a good game. Like, not saying Zelda's not good, but the difference was I expected Zelda to be amazing. I had good expectations for Horizon, and they exceeded those expectations. That's where I was like, dude, this game is crazy good. But everybody knew Zelda was going to be good. Like, nobody goes into Zelda thinking it's going to be okay. Like, so many people went into Zelda thinking this is going to be the shit, and it was. Like, it's good. But when you go into Horizon thinking this is supposed to be a pretty good game, let's check this out. And then, like, you play it and you're like, holy shit, look at this game. This is ridiculous. That's the difference. Like, that's for me. That's why that would push it a little bit more. But of course, Mario is going to come out next month, and then I'm going to probably shut my mouth because Mario looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
yeah, true. Apparently, Mario's supposed to be another one of those like generation-defining game changers, kind of like how Breath of the Wild was.
Yeah, I can't wait. So
yeah, it's supposed to be pretty good because like the past couple months I've been like playing with the idea of getting a Switch for I don't know maybe like a couple months, like I said, but like. I have not physically seen one in store since I've started looking.
Yeah, they're becoming more relevant. Like, occasionally, I'll go into a Walmart or Target. I'm like, oh, there's a Switch. That's cool. But it wasn't to the point where it was ridiculous or anything like that. But also, too, honestly, like, I have a Switch. It's cool. Wait a year, and I promise you, like, when you get it, it might, I'm not gonna say it's gonna have a price drop, but if it has like a game pack in, but also too, you're gonna have a stack of games to play by then, like, it'll probably be a little bit better about a year from now. But again, not shitting on it, it's nice. But also too, after I beat Zelda, I had Mario Kart, which I already played on the Wii U, and now I'm just kind of sitting here like,
yeah, no, for me, it's like, to be honest, out of the couple games that are like, out of like the couple first party games that are already out right now, I played pretty much all of them. Like Zelda, I'm like a huge Zelda fan from like back in the day. Mario Kart, this particular one looks good, and like who doesn't love Mario Kart?
Right.
ARMS seems pretty interesting. I don't understand how the motion control works, but it looks pretty fun. Splatoon looks good, and for me, I like wave-based horde mode type stuff. So Salmon Run sounds pretty interesting. And then just Mario and Rabbids is heard as kind of like a strategy game, so that just sounds pretty interesting. And then that Mario Odyssey is just supposed to be like on a whole other level. So like the first party lineup already sounds good enough that I would consider getting it. It's just like about finding it. And for me, I do most of my gaming shopping at GameStop because I'm a member there, and I literally have like a bunch of credit just waiting to get used there. So I'm trying to find something to spend it on, other than just like random collectibles and like T-shirts and stuff.
Right.
I thought about getting a PSVR as well, but I'm like, I don't have my PS4. But now I heard with the PS4 Pro that it actually works better with VR because of the processing power. So I'm like, I might get a PSVR sometime next year. But the reason I'm also holding off on getting an Xbox One is because my roommate, he apparently got an Xbox One. He just needs to bring it down from his home in Nova. So I'm thinking I could just do some Xbox gaming on there, and I'd be satiated for a couple months.
Yeah, that would work. Absolutely. So,
because I would literally just exactly. Because he would let me use it all the time. Like me and him are pretty close. So I could just download my profile there, and then I could just start redeeming some games, playing some games. He could use it whenever. I thought about getting something like Gears of War. So one, we could play co-op. And two, again, like I said, I like horde modes, and Gears of War, to my understanding, had the original horde mode. So I really want to get back into it.
Yeah, Gears 4 horde mode is pretty fun too. It's definitely a lot more complex than it used to be, but
I've heard it sounds like they've taken it to a whole other level, like they did with Judgment when they did that new
Overrun mode.
Overrun.
Yeah.
That they changes up drastically. That looks really interesting.
It definitely is, yeah. So if people wanted to play games with you on PlayStation or Xbox, or go ahead, promote yourself.
Oh yeah, for sure. On PlayStation, I am dchow6942. I was going to be dchow69 because that's how I promote myself on everything else, the rest of my social medias. But since I joined PSN in 2013, when it opened in 2006, I didn't get my first pick for dchow69. So Again, that is PSN at dchow6942. And then for Xbox, I don't play online that much, but I probably will start if I get an Xbox. My gamer tag is honestly a little complicated because it was one I didn't create. Back when I was playing on my friend's Xbox 360 for a long time with COD 4, he made me a profile, and then he just gave me the account details, and he's like, "This is your profile now." So So it's XX Night Terror XX.
Oh, jeez.
X.
Hey, at least you can change your gamer tag if you want to.
Yeah, you're right. As soon as, probably when I get my own Xbox, I'll actually care about changing it.
Right.
Because, you know, I'll be putting money into, like, having, you know, games, a controller, a warranty,
exactly.
Live for, like, another year, so I can download, like, the free 360 games and all that.
Absolutely. Well, again, man, thank you so much for being on the show. I really do appreciate you sharing your stories, and I'll put in the show notes links to your PlayStation and Xbox stuff, so that way people can play some stuff with you online.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If you want, I can open up my Xbox and get you the exact gamer tag, because I think I put an extra X, or I missed an X in there.
You're fine. I'll put it in the show notes. We'll make sure.
All right, sounds good.
All right, dude. Thanks again, man. I really appreciate you being on the show.
Likewise. Thank you very much. I had a great time.
All right. Thanks again, Daniel, for being on the show. Again, if you guys want to be on an episode of the show, feel free to send me a tweet at GUG Podcast on Twitter. Also, go ahead and send me a tweet at MitchPower1116 on Twitter. Again, all the gamer tags he has, I will have in the show notes, so that way if you guys want to play anything on PlayStation with him, eventually Xbox, he'll probably be having an Xbox here soon, so hopefully you guys can play some stuff with him. Again, thank you guys so much for returning each and every week. Please don't forget to share the show with friends, subscribe on iTunes or Google Play so you get new episodes each and every Tuesday. And also give us a review on iTunes. That'll help bump up the stats of the show. That'll also help bring more attention to the show as well. So again, guys, thank you guys so much for returning each and every week, and I will catch you guys next week. See ya.